And last but not least, let's talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, right? So Ricardo, again, if you don't mind, I just wanted to do this synopsis, first, right? But
Sure.
just a little preamble, right? So Ant-Man, right? The Ant-Man films up to this point, right? Of course, we're excluding Captain America: Civil War and Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame, right? But yeah, the Ant-Man films themselves, right? It's so funny, it's like it like comes back full circle, right? Because first time we started on this whole podcast journey, yeah, one of the first films we talk about was Ant-Man, right? We did this in a what you call it by in a ice cream parlor, basically outside, with a Tascam recorder and whatnot. But yeah,
Right,
not
right.
not
Narima,
yeah,
yeah. That's
yeah.
by
Back in the good old days, right?
yeah, Willie's, yeah.
Yeah,
Back in the
was no, it wasn't Willie's. It was like Willie's, but somewhere else, right?
well,
But
it's
yeah,
where Willie's is where Willie's used to be.
used to be. That's right.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that man. And right, so just to get this out, we know he is not one of my favorite MCU characters, right? But I do appreciate the films that he's in, right? I know a lot of people will say, he is lower tier when it comes to the MCU output, right? But what I do like is that they give him a purpose. They give him a reason to kind of exist in this MCU universe, right? Because yeah, I mean, the moment we heard, oh, Ant-Man's gonna be a thing, like, wait, you're serious? Like, this is what we're doing? And yeah, I mean, we now know him, right? And this is thanks in part, of course, to Paul Rudd, right? Because yeah, he absolutely crushes it as Scott Lang, right? But yeah, Ant-Man, for what it was, it works, right? I mean, in terms of, oh, we're gonna take the heist genre, but we're just gonna do a MCU spin on it, right? Ant-Man the Wasp, however, was not a show that I absolutely loved, though. All right,
Yeah, it was
the
forgettable.
all right. So here's the tricky thing about it, right? You gotta remember that this came out right after Infinity War, right?
Right.
So after the gut punch we got with the final few minutes of Infinity War, right? This pretty much came in and said, yeah, this is the palate cleanser, right?
Right.
And that's how the Marvel Studios themselves touted this film, right? It's the palate cleanser before Endgame, right? So we just kind of watch it like that, right? But yeah, ultimately it was forgettable, right? I did recap it in preparation for this though, and appreciated just a little bit more though, but still, like, despite the whole palate cleanser label that everybody will give this film, yeah, it's forgettable, right? And reason, well, I mean, there's a few main reasons, right? One, was there really a villain in this per se? Like
This
Walter
one?
Goggins was no
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Walter
last one, the
Goggins,
last
yeah.
one,
Yeah,
yeah.
Walter Goggins, yeah.
Yeah, like why should we care about him as a villain?
Well, it's really
Character.
ghosts there. I mean, to be fair, it's more ghosts than thing. I
Right,
mean, it's
but but
halfway,
even
halfway. Yeah,
but even Ghosts, right?
yeah, it wasn't really a villain.
Yeah, it wasn't really a villain because ultimately it was about helping her,
Right.
and it needed Janet's some quantum powers or whatever it is to
Yeah.
help her from
Right. All right. And so rescue Janet. Right. I forget.
right. So it's to
Yeah.
rescue her and all that kind of stuff. So it was just what it was, right? But some people will fear to it because, again, it's so lighthearted compared to everything else we got before. But still, I just felt personally there could have been more effort put into giving us a reason to care, right? That was the thing. Like, in the first one, I cared. I cared about the characters and whatnot. This one was like, all right, well, the main thing, the main conceit is just getting Janet, right? So ultimately, we didn't really need Ghost. We really didn't need Lawrence Fishburne's character. I forget his name, right?
Yeah. That
It
was
was
Jan.
cool.
That was Goliath.
Yes, right, Goliath, right? It was cool seeing Michael Douglas, go into the
Right.
quantum realm and save his wife. That was cool, but other than that, yeah, there really wasn't any reason for this show, right? So, call it a palate cleanser isn't really seeing much, right? So, yeah, now we have, Quantumania, right? Sorry, we have Quantumania now, which finally, because even from day one, there was always talk about this quantum realm, right?
Right.
Now we finally get to see it and also have a story set, well, pretty much set in the quantum realm, right? So yeah, it took us two movies, but yeah, finally here we are, right? But of course, the big sell with this movie, of course, is seeing Kang for the second time in the MCU, right? Once again played by the great Jonathan Majors, right? And just the how they're going to incorporate him into this story, which is pretty much, hey, I'm trapped in the quantum realm, I need to get back out, right? And it's not just Scott and Hope and Hank and Janet. Now we have Scott's daughter, right, Cassie. She's there as well, right? But yeah, the question is, well, what does Kang have to do with all of this, right? So what we'll do here, right? So we will just give spoiler-free thoughts here, and then we'll just close things off with some spoilery moments, and then we'll just give final thoughts to rating, right? So Ricardo, Quantumania, what's it about?
Right. So, Scott is kind of living his life and enjoying his life after the events of Endgame. He wrote a book. He, hope take over the company from the father, well, from the time of Darren, I suppose. And she kind of helped with the world. And then, he have a kind of slightly strained relationship with his daughter, Cassie, and she got arrested and so on and so forth. But apparently, in all that long time, apparently, Cassie was working on something to get into the quantum realm, and it apparently, well, she's saying that if she did do this, she could probably find the father faster, little things like that. And he kind of bonded with her, but then Janet kind of said, "Hey, you should shut this down. It's a kind of a bad idea," and she pulls the plug on it, but it's too late. The something from the quantum realm comes up, a piece of signal, and it shrinks all of them down to the quantum realm, pulling them down into the quantum realm. And that starts effectively the story. And what you learn is that Janet had a backstory relationship with two characters. Well, the first is a character who was a colossal waste of time. That's of course his name is Skylar or Kylar or something like that. Basically Bill Murray's character. And
Yes,
then
yes, yes.
she had a relationship, well, not a relationship, but just a kind of back and forth with Kang himself. This person called himself the Conqueror, or other people call him the Conqueror. And since she left the quantum realm, leaving back all these people, and she had a little name for herself in dealing with this narrative of this battle against the conqueror of this man who come from the above realm, quote unquote, to take over and become a champion of to become an emperor or leader of this world by force. And then they have to effectively get to that. And what you learn is that why he need Ant-Man is that Ant-Man suit has the ability to go and solve, go and fix basically the MacGuffin or the storyline, which is this basically is a quant. I forget what it is, a multiverse battery or something like that. Basically, it's allow him to move through the multiverse relatively easily, and you learn how and why that is the case. Yeah, that's it. It's Michael Douglas and Sharon. She named Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone, right? Uh,
Dude, Michelle
Michelle
Pfeiffer,
Pfeiffer.
yo.
Michelle
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, right? Yeah, and Hope Van Dyne and all of them, bouncing off each other to do shenanigans and to stop Kang shenanigans, and that's it. And I am going to officially say it: the MCU might be in some trouble. Kind of worried for them now. Kind of worried for them now.
I knew these guys say something like that.
This was the movie I felt was supposed to build the hype for supposed phase 5, right? Or phase 4. Or something, or to at least start really building back the momentum going forward. And I felt that didn't do that at all. Like, it was either going to be this or Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And my attitude was that since Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness didn't do it, this was the film to start to do it. And we didn't get it with either of these films. And it's going to run through why I have problems with the movie. So, yeah, this was kind of Thor Love and Thunder all over again for me. Not like I don't
wow, okay.
I don't dislike it as much as that film, even though I don't dislike Thor Love and Thunder, to be fair. But I recognize how much problems that had. But both of them had a lot of similar problems where you have a skeleton of a story with some solid ideas, and this just needs so much punching up and connective tissue. So first thing I think kind of was weird, right? To me, they clearly frame Janet and Kang as having a relationship, right? And the triangle with Hank.
Yeah.
So not whoever Bill Murray was, right? But let's be clear, Bill Murray had a pointless, terribly unfunny cameo, in my opinion. Like I thought there's no good reason for him to be in this movie. Seriously, that's just a waste of time, in my humble opinion. However, and I felt if they did that, then to me both of their arcs would have made a lot more sense and be more relevant to the narrative. Like I got the feeling that they wanted to do the youth formula CGI thing with her in the flashbacks instead of showing her old. Like that's what I felt that could have been, but they couldn't afford it or have the time.
Yeah, or people already make them outfits. So it's like, we do it in 2 films. Let me not do it again. Now.
No, well, to me, it's a good technology. If you're doing it right, you do it fine. Every time they do it, I like it. So I don't have a problem with it. I like it when they did it with Sam Jackson. I like it when they did it with in the first Ant-Man in the beginning. I like it. Though you don't sort of overdo it and it started to look a little ridiculous after a while. But it's look good when you do it. Like whatever. Majors was pretty solid in this. I thought he nailed the pompous, histrionic but ruthless nature of the character of this Kang. And those two post-credit scenes I thought were okay. I actually enjoyed them for what they were. Even though the CGI was a little bit dodgy at the end there. But whatever. Scott, this was the biggest. I thought he was the biggest missed opportunity. Scott didn't really seem to have an arc, and that was the biggest waste. I felt they could have gotten some really solid dramedy beats from him, a la Barry, if you know Barry, the show. Like, okay, so I just want to get into this thing, right? So there's a TikTok. I forget the guy's name, but you can look it up. Let's type in anti-dramedy, and this guy was explaining the concept of the anti-dramedy idea. And I really felt we could have gotten they could have write something like that for Scott in this, like how to sell, you know, how to be very serious, even though you're the comedy relief character, but how to have him actually feel serious with the comedy beats, with the weight of the situation and or his relationship with Cassie. Because that little existential meltdown he had at the end, I thought it was a great moment. I was enjoying that,
Yeah.
and I wish we had more of that, like in the movie. And that was my thing. Yeah, look up. Just type in anti-dramedy. He's a guy who has is a TikTok you'll find, but he also has a Substack, a full article about it, and he was explaining the idea of like a bunch of modern shows of doing how to put comedy people in deadly serious situations, but it also you do a slightly funny thing, but you're kind of juxtaposing between comedy and humor, but not in the typical dramedy sense of the two. And he called it the anti-dramedy, but he said that it probably have some actual proper literary criticism term for it that we didn't really coin yet, or whatever it is. But I felt we could have gotten something like that. Like I really felt that it was a big missed opportunity not writing Scott like that, because yeah, it didn't have any strong like beats for Scott in my humble opinion. Like it was just not there. But like it had inklings of it, here or there, smattered throughout, and I felt they could have done. Like, it had some good moments with him, with like especially the whole when he went really really low down with the quantum realm stuff. Modoc, I didn't hate this. I thought it was kind of a funny beat. It's a joke they kind of run into the ground, but it was okay. Like, what happened. Basically, they explained what happened to Darren Cross. But I was kind of chuckling at this, but I felt it's just a joke. And because the show, to me, it feel like the movie was skewing very young, like it was skewing to a much younger crowd. I felt that's why they went with that in that way. Speaking of a younger crowd, the Quantum Realm. This aesthetically felt way too interchangeable with something out of Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Wars. That's what it felt like to me. Like it.
I was thinking Star Wars more than anything else.
Yeah,
But yeah, the
right.
Guardians
Like
make
that.
sense in terms of the characters,
Right.
how kooky they are. But I'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
But it really felt like it didn't have a unique look. Like I watching it, and at no point it felt unique or interesting. It just felt like a slight more gelatiny, everything like wet and liquidy. Like okay, that makes some sense. But I guess we see that in Guardians too. Whatever. And here's another thing. Yeah, and then also the struggle of the battle against Kang, that felt like a complete afterthought. Like I felt if it should have been Cassie, should have spent more time with them to establish them. And oh, holy shit, William Jackson Harper is completely wasted in this, in my opinion. Like I was kind of annoyed at that. Like, yeah, dude, the man
Yeah,
is like
boy. Like when I see him now, I was like, all right, we're gonna get something really interesting. And it's like, well, no, it's just this one beat just over and over and over.
right,
That's
it's one joke, right? Exactly.
yeah.
And yeah, and then I'll say here's another thing I was kind of lost. Like to me, the aesthetic of size is completely lost in the quantum realm because you have no like reference point now with size, like with characters getting smaller or bigger. So like that was a big strength of the previous game. Like in my humble opinion, still one of the coolest visuals in all of the MCU was when Scott was on Hawkeye's arrow and he jumped through Iron Man's hands and was running up his arm now. Like that
Yes.
that kind of stuff I find is still so goddamn cool about the Ant-Man movies now. And that deep, what is not deep focus, that shallow depth of field, kind of feel to everything like that. And yeah, we don't really seem to have any of that in this because again, the quantum realm was just so, arbitrary. And then the CG on it.
Well, the closest, honestly, from what I remember, right? Even though I saw this yesterday, the closest we get to that was when Scott has a mission to do, right?
Right. No, but still, that was still like, another interesting thing. Like again, it have no reference point for that. It is looking and that look cool, but that is its own visual. I'm talking about like the actual like feeling small or feeling bigger than things now. Like,
I got you. Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. I do one thing I do love about this man. We got army and ants. Like the second film don't have enough ants.
Yes, yes.
Ants.
And I
Get
love what
ants
they
in this.
did with the ants, how they
Yeah, yeah.
evolved.
I
That's what I
like
was
that.
saying. That was cool.
But
Yeah.
that's another big problem is the whole again, they do so much. Everything is exposition and exposition and exposition. And I felt they could have just, frame that into the narrative a lot stronger narratively. Yeah, so I didn't hate this. I had enough fun with it, but I really felt that they could have just punched this up some more, or it just felt the whole thing just felt very undercooked. And I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried for the MCU now, especially in the light of, well, I make the joke about James Gunn kind of sabotaging, Guardians 3, right? Like James Gunn going to be hungry. Like I could really see the DCU catching up now. Like, with all of this stuff now, because I can't see any good momentum building towards, the big other Avengers movies. So I don't know. But yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed with this, right? To be fair, Jonathan Majors kind of saved it. Like if it wasn't for him, it would be I would probably really hate this. But Jonathan Majors real saved this. He kind of hold up the whole movie, to be honest. Like, because he's the only person who was like genuinely serious. He really felt like threatening and menacing. I really felt the arc with him and Janet could have been stronger. And they could have done, I don't know what they could have punched that up a little better. I felt that should have been the romance angle, if anything. And then, have with Hank and the triangle. So Hank versus Kang, and then Scott versus Kang with the daughter. And then they could do more with the daughter and make it so he's separate from the daughter a lot longer. So you're looking for the daughter, but like they meet each other. I don't know. It is a mess. The movies are a real mess. And I really felt they this could go through so much, a lot of redo with the scripting. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing with this, right? So little story time, right? Who's ready for story time with Matt Chibili, right? So I went to the actual first screening of it in Caribbean cinemas, right? Because that was the closest cinema I could get to yesterday, right?
Yeah, I was in Gemstones Flintstones. If you could say I'm friends with Fred, right? That's how it was Gemstones for me. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So because I was skeptical as to how good the show is going to be, right? I watched it in 2D, right? But while I was watching this show, right, I find like the visuals wasn't popping out to me. It felt really dark at some points, right? So swear to God, right? Like halfway into the show, right? That this is before Scott goes on a mission, right? A light turns on, and one of the ushers comes in, right? The film stops and says, well, he pretty much come and say, well, folks, we're having some technical issues, so we will direct you guys to the 3D screening room, right?
Okay.
Because they actually ran at the same time. They actually started at the exact same time, right? So yeah, I had this weird opportunity of watching the film in both 2D and 3D.
Right.
And the 3D experience was absolutely worth it for me, right? Even though I saw 45 minutes of it, right? So I would just say right off the bat, if you do plan on seeing it, I would say watch it in 3D, man. I mean, that's not to say that, your theater wouldn't have it looking good in 2D, right? But I just think in terms of the visuals, they really look so great though in 3D, right? So just getting that out the way, right? This is an Ant-Man movie, folks. Again, like what I said earlier with my thoughts on these films, right? So, honestly, this is one, I would say right off the bat, probably the most enjoyable Ant-Man film we've gotten in a long while, though. But here's the thing.
I mean,
it's not really saying much, though.
Yeah, you're comparing it to other Ant-Man.
Not seeing it much. Yeah. We comparing it to other Ant-Man film, right? Because
here
it really felt like the scope was a lot bigger, right? Because I mean, as much as we enjoyed the first one, that was just a small story. It was just, get the suit and then use the suit to, break into, big corporation and do stuff, right? It was a small story, right? But here, it really felt big. It felt larger than life. It really felt like Marvel Studios was swinging for the fences here. It felt so weird and just out there in terms of just the quantum realm, right? Like for me, I didn't really think that we were going to see a lot of characters, but yeah, there's a lot of characters in this world, right? And yeah, you're right, it does lean more towards the the Guardians stuff where it's just weird aliens for the sake of weird aliens, right? But yeah, I couldn't help but see a lot of Star Wars influence in this story. You know what I mean? Right down to characters looking like Jawas. Like literally, there is a character look like a friggin' Jawa. You're like, what? You know what I mean? The whole confrontation with Scott and Cassie and the tribe, right? All that stuff is just straight up Star Wars stuff, right? And all that I didn't mind, but I was just there kind of wondering, okay, how was Kang? Like, what's Kang involvement in all this, right? And yes, you're absolutely right, though. Kang is the best thing about this movie. Jonathan Majors, he just crushes it as this character, right? And what I do love, though, because what I did, right, and this is going to lead to the spoiler section. I recapped the final episode of the first season of Loki, right?
Right.
And I was taking note of Jonathan Majors, performance here, where he just being, hammy, like intentionally
Yeah.
hammy and over the top,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I like how in that show, right, he bring up variants, right? Because in my head I tell myself, well, of course it's not gonna be that Kang, because he got killed by the female Loki, right? So I was curious to see how this version of Kang was gonna be. I hope that he wasn't gonna be hammy like how he was in Loki, right? But thankfully he's not, right? But
Yeah.
he is still as off the wall as I'll say, like he's not correct upstairs. That's really what it is, right? So yes, he will call himself the conqueror, and he'll give you reasons why he must do what he does. Well, sorry, why he does what he does. But at the end of the day, he's kind of a maniac, actually. He's kind of a maniac, right? I just love that Jonathan has this opportunity to play this character in so much ways, right? So what I'm curious now is with these other films coming up now, is that every one of these films, I don't know what the lineup is going to be, right? Which feature Kang? Is it that we're just going to get different versions of Kang all the time and you just wipe them out and you know what I mean? Like it has to culminate into something, right? That's the point I get
Well,
at.
I mean,
Can't just be every film we're just going to kill a Kang. Like
no,
that
but
makes no
so
sense.
that first post credit scene to me just kind of give up the game of what's going on now, which is the council of cross time Kangs, right? So that's
Yeah.
what's going on there. So yeah, that shot is straight out of the comic. Like that shot of the
I am
powder.
actually not surprised.
Yeah, that shot is like straight out of the comic. That scene where all of them just in the crowd wilding out. Yeah. So is that.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So that would have been the beginning of the spoiler section, folks. But don't worry. That's just one. But I want to get the spoiler free ups out first. Then we get to some spoiler stuff, right? Yeah. But yeah, Jonathan Majors crushes into this though. I love that, he's not just talking and being all threatening and whatnot. And I will lie though, he is intimidating AF though.
Yeah.
Especially
he's pretty good,
second half of the show, right? Like when he really kicks in and when he like encounters Scott for the first time, like from that point on, it's like, wow, okay. He's a guy I do want to mess with. And I also love the fact too that he and Scott get to throw it a little bit too, man. And you get to see
ending,
you get to see the reason why with Creed 3 coming up, why Adonis's character really need to be careful, boy, because Jonathan Majors, wait, Jesus, right? But the world of this of the quantum realm is decent for what it is, right? It totally works.
I don't know.
It wasn't
my
as
problem is
psychedelic.
that
It wasn't as psychedelic as I expected to be because thinking Quantumania, what I mean, I just thinking okay, we're just gonna get some trippy stuff, but no, not really. It feels more how to say like how it was in the second film, right? Where it feels more like how if somebody were to sort of visualize how cells would look like, right? Like how like from a scientific perspective, like an artistic version of how micro size everything is. You understand what I see, right? So that like this basically, if we were to look at cells and that kind of stuff,
Right.
it has a sort of a cellular kind of a look, but just with a slight trippiness to it. But this felt they could have leaned a little bit more into the psychedelic nature of it, right? Just off the title alone, right? The extra characters we got kind of forgettable, but I do like that they add some flavor to this world though. A little too much though, and I have a feeling yes, you're right. This really does skew towards more younger audiences because I can imagine younger audiences watching these weird characters and sort of like smiling and laughing and stuff like that, right? But yeah, boy, I feel sorry for William Jackson Harper, like like his characters look so cool and it's like his power. Not an original, but I just like the fact that he was in this too, and they didn't really give him much to do, right? Bill Murray's character, Lord Kryler, right? For a split second, I did see him. I didn't see him coming in, right? Yes, it was pointless, right?
Terrible.
But for the life of me, I was watching this. I was wondering, is he supposed to be somehow related to Jeff Goldblum's character from Thor Ragnarok? Way
Probably,
they just have something of a weird.
They're trying to do the same
similarity,
thing. They clearly try to do the same kind of thing, but they just fall flat here, I think.
Yeah.
It
So
work in Thor Ragnarok with Jeff Goldblum. I thought it was great in that, but
exactly. He had a
this was
bigger
terrible.
role to play in that, right? Even though he
Yeah,
wasn't in the film for that much, right?
yeah,
But yeah, unfortunately, Bill Murray wasn't in the show that much. He just there to be Bill Murray and talk some stuff, and I just pretty much fill the scene until Kang's goons show up, right? Speaking of Kang's goons, did not expect Modok's character to be who he was, right? We'll get to that in the spoiler section, right?
right.
I do agree with you. It's a nice visual gag, but yes, you do run it to the ground though.
Mm.
But it does answer pretty interesting. Yeah, it does answer a question that you probably would have forgotten from the first film as well. Too. I like how they did that as
Right.
well, right? But more on that on the spoiler section, right? The third act, I would say, is over the top and spectacular and fun. But I just wish that leading up to it, we just got more, man. You know what I mean? Just more solid build up though. Yeah, like it does really feel like after like okay, we just have to have this big explosive, action sequence, and for me, it actually works, right? But it's just the build up to it though could have been a lot better. I would say actually like the first third of it kind of feels kind of slow, kind of rough as well too.
Yeah, no,
But then
it was dragging for me. Like I wasn't hating it, but it was kind of dragging until Kang showed up, and it's like, all right,
right,
now
right,
start to
right.
get
Yeah,
good. Now
when
start to
Kang
yeah,
show up though, it's like yes, that's
yeah,
when shit get real, right? And last thing last, we will bring this up in the spoiler section too. Yes, the last two post credit scenes are amazing though. I particularly love the second one though, right? Which we'll get
right.
into
Mhm.
right now. So let me just save the post credit stuff for last, right? So just first things out of the way, right? So this in spoiler section, right? You've been warned, right? So am I the only one who kind of was missing Judy Greer and Bobby Cannavale's characters? Because
Definitely,
then they're
definitely.
supposed to
All these
be
side people,
Cassie's like parents, but here's the
all
thing. Here's the thing. Here's the Ricardo. You could make the excuse. Well, the blip happened, right? Blah blah blah
yeah,
blah, blah, right? But yeah, the blip happened. So what
blip
happened?
happened.
But the people came back. It's not like they died.
Right.
So what? Like all of a sudden the blip happened, and all of a sudden Cassie
They
parents
write out.
aunt, she mom and them they just go on now. So all of
They
a
write
sudden
out.
they give the
Yeah, no,
idea that she with Michael Douglas and
yeah,
Michelle
no,
Pfeiffer.
they
That
write
makes
out.
sense.
They write out all the like interesting side characters that made Ant Man work. Like that
Yeah,
going
like
to work. Like
I miss Michael Pena. Like there would
Michael
have
Payne.
been no
Yeah,
point
yeah,
for him to
exactly.
be in the show, but like,
Yeah,
dude, like they even squeeze in Randall Park's character, Dread, right? They
and
even squeeze him in.
and it was a non cameo. It was like a, no, a wordless cameo. No, they had no lines or nothing like that. It's like, all right, because they just do the card thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
from the
magic
second
card
film,
thing
right?
from taking the first one and in Wonder Vision. That's it.
Yeah, they even
From
squeeze in
yeah,
this guy Greg Turkington, sorry, right? He
yeah,
was in the first film. He was the Baskin Robbins boss
right,
who fired him. I like, oh
right. They had
yeah,
one
you
joke with
there,
him, which
right?
was okay.
Cool,
Which was
yeah,
they had one
yeah.
joke with him with the cake, where
All
you
right.
can make the shitty cake. That's it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, the payoff though, and seeing that they used that to end the film, I was like, really? That's all they end the film? Like, all they
Yeah.
could have come on a
No,
much
listen,
better gag
listen.
though, you know?
As I said, the moment when he got it and he's leaving, and then he started thinking about Kang now, and he started having
No,
a
that part
meltdown.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, dude, they needed more of this though. Like, 'cause I don't know, they should have more of this about him taking the thing more serious now. I don't know, it's just me. 'Cause I get that you had to do the jokes there, but it you had to balance it, and that's the problem because I think they're catering to a younger audience. Look, it's Disney. Disney go to Disney, right? So that's why I didn't bother me too much. But it really felt like a missed opportunity.
right. Also to just get into spoilers even more, right? The relationship between Kang and Janet, though, I wish they had done that a lot better, right?
Yeah,
Because while I was watching this, I was asking myself, okay, around this moment was when, because remember in the second film, somehow she was able to communicate, I guess, telepathically, kind of, with
no,
Scott.
right.
And that's how
It
they
was
was able
actually right.
to get the pinpoint as to where she was. So
Yeah,
I thought that, the relationship, well, at least the friendship, if you will, with Kang and Janet would at least lead to that, right? But
right.
it did, which was kind of weird, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but I do like the idea that it's typical villain stuff, right? Fix this machine for me, and we'll be friends. And now that I fix it, okay, cool. But then, and I don't know. Again, I just felt they could have done this a lot better. Janet like touching the sort of multiverse like device thing,
yeah,
and seeing how evil Kang is, and suddenly changing she mind. Like I felt they
right.
could have done this a lot better, though, in my
Yeah,
opinion. I don't know if you have
everything
anything to do
felt
with it.
rushed. As I said, this could have worked better if it was a romance. Like to me, she fall for him. There was in a romance, and that's the triangle she had with Hank. So she and Hank, that little dimension, Hank Kang and her would have worked better now as a bouncing off now, where they bounced off each other, but they didn't do that. And the thing is,
Right.
it's not like
I think they have a real good excuse. She was there for roughly 30 years, right? If you
right,
were to see that,
exactly.
right? But
That's what I'm saying.
I think to the
That scene
writers'
would have worked.
credits, though, well, to the writers' credit, you would have found it kind of weird, because now Hank could see, you were with this guy all along, and I went out of my way to save you, and it probably would have slowed the film down to kind of
Here's the
explore the
thing.
love triangle thing, kind
No,
of. I
here's the
guess.
thing. They did the love triangle thing with the Bill Murray character as a joke, so they clearly wanted to do it. He's not like that's the
You're
only
right.
person.
Yes.
That's the only person with Bill Murray. Like they make a bunch of things. Well, she was together with Bill Murray for blah blah blah, and this guy, and they had lines with it. So it clearly to me that was clear evidence that they wanted to do something like that. I don't know. Again, me speculating. I know for sure.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Also Cassie Lang herself, right? Well, the actress who plays her,
Kinda
Catherine
wasted.
Newton.
Kinda wasted. Again, this was to me missed opportunity from Scott's perspective because I really thought they could have do some more with that. But I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
what I felt they should have do is that she should have been with the tribe people. Well, the people who lose the rebels. Like it's unclear who they are exactly. But it's just a bunch of guarded rebels. They should have spent more time with them and her alone, and then Scott should have been by himself. And then to me, the first time they meet should have been the big action sequence where the two of them was gigantic now. Well, we put in gigantic in quotes, right? So but yeah, is that now? I don't know. That's how I was feeling about it.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. But yeah, I mean, she's fine. She had a couple of cringe lines, though. Well, those are particularly the moments where she turned big and right. Well, you'll get to that now with MODOK, right? So yeah, big surprise. MODOK actually is Darren Cross, right? Played by Corey Stoll, right? I thought that was a really interesting. That was actually a smart call, right? Because
I
it
didn't
does
think that was so bad.
what happened to Yellow Jacket. Because he went subatomic in the end. That's how they got rid of him, right?
It was implied that he died.
Yeah.
It's implied that he died because he could have turned to jelly. Like if the suit stopped working, you get to turn to jelly or whatever it is. Though. But like that's another thing. Like it was kind of unclear to me. Like we see them shrink without the suit. That's I couldn't really follow that. But like it's implied that they have some kind of safety method and they fix that process. So you don't really need the suit to shrink. You just need the suit to do other weird shit and navigate the smaller domains better. Now that's how I think about it. Whatever.
Right. I see a lot of people, talking a lot of shit about how MODOK looks. So some people, call out Marvel Studios, say, all this money, all this spent on visual effects. Look at how this looks, right?
No, but
I think it's all intentional, because again,
exactly.
it's MODOK, right? There was a TV show, there was a cartoon that I reviewed.
When he had his mask on, he looked cool. So it's not like. To me, it was an intentional bit. Like it was
exactly. Yeah, that's the joke, right? And it works too because everybody who sees it like, oh, Darren, that's you. You know what I mean? So it works there, right? But yeah, a lot of people call it out and say, it looks terrible and it almost took them out of the film and all that stuff. Yeah, it's MODOK, right? That's what it is, right? Oh. What I felt they really went too far though. Well, not really went too far. It's just this running gag, right? So the gag is, oh, look at how he looks, right? So near the end of the big climatic fight scene, he's trying to figure out his purpose and he dies. And there's a nice little bit where he talk about how he finally get to be an Avenger and all that kind of stuff, right? To Scott, right? There's a moment where he says, the way how he was designed, he doesn't have a dick, right? But he kind of realizes this because Cassie brought it up, right? So she kind of watches like, just stop being a dick, right? So he like his big war cry is like, I want a dick or give me a dick or some kind of crap like that, right?
I just thought I didn't really get that. I thought it was I am a dick, but I can't help but being a dick, as in being an asshole, like not
right. Well, that was what she was trying to say, right? But in the fight scene, when he stop when he stops Kang from exactly his big
I missed that.
Right, he says something along the line, you didn't give me a dick, like that.
Okay, all right, whatever.
It was weird. It was kind of dumb, but it's a big climatic fight scene, so it's like you know what. Try to take the wall and see what sticks, right? Yeah. And yeah, I must say, even though I was like just enjoying just how insane and over the top that third act was, and I would like it was fun to watch it. It was a lot of just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks to it. Just a lot of craziness, right? But I do like how flashy and action-packed it is, though, and I do like the fact that you got to see Kang throw down against Ant-Man. Like that moment really worked for me, though. Like just seeing Ant-Man like get his ass whooped, right? I actually don't mind how it how it was going to end basically, but it would have been interesting if
they got stuck, right?
If they were stuck, if both Hank and and Hope sorry, if Scott and Hope had stayed back
Yeah.
though, I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, okay, and
Right.
all right, and this
I thought
third
that would
film
be
is like,
interesting too.
this would have been the end of the trilogy, kind of, and you know,
Right.
maybe in the next film, you know, Cassie would have, you know, go back for them or something like that. But like, well, no, so yeah, let me just go back for them, right? It was kind of
Just open the
anticlimactic.
portal. Normal, yeah.
Yeah. So post-credit scene time, right? Well, okay, but before we get to post-credit scene, right? Actually, like how they got rid of Kang in this case, too, right? But I
Well,
do love
yeah.
how they set it up where there's almost no way you could stop him. But it's like, all right, well, let me just try the one thing that he was trying to fix anyway. Let's suck him in.
Yeah.
Then we do the whole subatomic thing with him, and that's
Right.
how they got rid of him. But in my head, I was saying to myself, oh, one way or the other, he will return because he's Kang. So I was thinking this visual is going to return, right?
Right.
Then we get that post-credit scene where you see all the other ones, right? When you see it's lifted off the comics with themselves,
Straight
right?
up.
So
Yeah,
I was
straight
only
up.
familiar with the Egyptian-looking one. I didn't expect
Right.
the
That's Ramatuk.
Asian sort of Mandarin-like looking
Yeah,
one.
he
I didn't
looked
see
just
that
like
one.
a classic version of the Mandarin, right?
Yes.
I don't know which one was that. I just was thinking the Mandarin actually. Classic Mandarin.
Yeah, I think that is purposeful, right? There was another one. It was right. So there's the Egyptian one. There was that one. I forgot who the other one that they were talking to. So basically, the three elders, we'll call them, and then you just get this shot with all the others, you know, just in this hall, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, again, just going back to, you know, Kang just being, you know, not right upstairs. Yeah, I do like how they all acting wild. There was actually a few of them who were like, you know, like yelling like baboons, literally. Like, you know, just like, hoo, 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 hoo. You know, like I actually like that. That was really cool. It made for a great little reveal in the end as well, too, right? But again, you know, it just kind of opens up the question of, okay, so in these other films, are they gonna fight different versions? Are they gonna fight like eventually? Is it all gonna boil down to fighting those mean three, or is it like one mean one that they're gonna get rid of? Right? You don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. The thing is, Rick and Morty already kind of like pulled that trigger with the whole thing. So I don't know what they're gonna do with it. But yeah, it's straight up off of the comic. The whole council of what is cross time Kangs or whatever it is. Like it's that. It's the same thing. Yeah. Whatever.
Right. And also should mention too, I like how they bring up the whole, you know, oh gosh, the timeline stuff from Loki. I think actually using some of the same visuals as well to the same kind of white you know, the white tree like branch like kind of
it's the same technology.
You know, is that right? Yeah. So I like that, right? But for me though, personally though, the post credit scene, that's the one that really worked for me, right?
Right.
The second one, because we straight up get a scene from the next season of Loki, boy.
Right.
But head I like, all right, I wonder if they will reference Loki one way or the other. I just saw this sort of white, you know, brand tree like thing. I thought that was the only thing we are gonna get as a reference to Loki, right? Because yes, you know, we can't just push away the fact that, you know, because what happened in that finale happened, right? I was wondering if they were going to bring it up at all, and they kind of don't. You know, it's kind of hinted that it's in its own separate timeline, right? But I do like, with this credit scene, you see Loki and you see Mobius play once again by Owen Wilson, and I assume they're in the 20s, right? 1920s, right?
So this is a kind of meta deep cut of. So remember, his name is Victor Timely, I think is his name.
Yeah, Victor Timely. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you know what Marvel's Comics was called before it was called Marvel Comics?
Timely Comics, right?
Timely Comics, yeah. And they're doing an interesting kind of callback here because this character either influenced or is the inventor of the original Human Torch. So they
okay.
Yeah, so they might be doing the whole Android Human Torch thing. So if anything, this might be a kind of I almost say Fantastic Four reference as well. And the only time they made a reference to that was in the first Captain America movie. If you look back in the first Captain America movie, the beginning, when they had the whole the show. I forget the name of the show. The World's Fair.
The USO show? No.
The World's Fair. That World's Fair in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, they showed the Android version of the Human Torch. So again, they're doing things. Whatever. Like the timely reference I liked, and he looked pretty cool in that. Like what it is, this version of him is, and why referencing the whole thing. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
And again, just going off how just off his Richter he is, because when you're watching him, when you're watching Victor, it's like he's kind of insane here too, right?
Yeah.
He's just quirky, right?
Yeah.
But what I suspect though with this little scene here is that's pretty much what this new season is going to be about. It's going to be Loki and Mobius, pretty much going into different eras and looking for different variants of of Kang. I feel that's what it's all going to be about, right? You know,
Yes.
because back in the first season, it was all about, oh, there's this other Loki about doing stuff, and you see different Lokis. In this case, I have a feeling it's just going to be different Kangs, right? I guess that's what's being set up here. But yeah, this I'm really excited for season 2, which we're not getting this year, right? No.
I can't remember. Again, I don't keep up with this stuff. Sorry to say it.
All right. No, well, because for me, outside any movies, well, at least 2, 3 movies, I did wondering what other like TV content we're gonna get for from Marvel Studios this year. Though I have no clue. Like they need to
Right.
put something out, so at least like a timeline, so at least I know what's going on, you know. But I don't know, right? But
Yes.
yeah, in closing though, yes, for me, this is like the best Ant-Man film we've gotten. Again, which isn't really seen much. It's the best in terms of the scope and the ambition and just going out there. And most importantly, I forgot to bring this up. Kind of giving us a reason to care again for Scott Lang though, because yeah, you know he's the
You can say
likable
so.
goofball and whatnot, but
Yeah.
here like there was stakes involved though. You know what I mean? Like literal stakes, right? It wasn't like, oh, we need to steal the suit and blah 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 blah, and I don't want this guy to run off with my ideas, i.e. the first one, and oh, I need to get my wife back, i.e. in the second one. Here it felt like, oh, if we don't stop this guy, well, yeah, he is going to rise to earth and take it over, right? There was real stakes involved, right? Um, and that's what made the whole family dynamic work as well, right? Amongst the leads, right? Whether it's Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Catherine Newton, and Paul Rudd. And I mean, those four, they do their thing, right? They do their thing. They show up. They do what they have to do, right? And I forgot to mention Evangeline Lilly, who plays Hope, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, this is Kang's show. He does steal the show. Basically, he crushes it, and they do. I love what they did
Yes.
here, where it's like literally an alternate version of who we saw in Loki, right? But at the same time, the show itself does feel kind of unfocused. It's like, okay, we want to show you the weird stuff in the quantum realm, but we want to set up this thing with Kang, and want to set this thing up with Cassie, and we want to do all these things. So yeah, they're spinning a lot of plates here, and some of them do fall and break, others keep on spinning 40, right? But yeah, for what it is, I enjoyed it for what it was, though. I do see myself watch this over in 3D, so I could see it like fully in 3D and not halfway, right? In 3D, right? But at the same time, it is an Ant-Man film, and this is not me like knocking or insulting Ant-Man movies. It's just they how to say they pretty much filler films, right? They feel fillerish, even the first one as well too. They feel like they are placeholders basically for what's to come basically. And yeah, I do agree with you, as this one in terms of setting up what we could get in Phase 5. Yeah, we could have gotten much more out of it though, especially now that we know who the main body is gonna be, right? But yeah, rating wise, decent to a strong 3.5 out of 5, man. I would say that it is worth checking out. If you could see it on big screen, please do. You may not want to see it more than twice though, but I personally do want to see it again just to see the 3D effects though. I forgot to mention to inclusion, even like the moment with him going into, I forgot the name of the realm itself, right? What is by the probability realm, I forget it's called.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, they
yeah.
get so small. They get so small that it's like quantum probability. Yeah.
Yeah. That concept is great though, and
Yeah, that's a
it
cool
gets
idea,
some
and it
great
looked great.
visuals.
Yeah.
It looked
And
great.
again, it was a good like emotional beat for Scott because he the reason they work together is because of Cassie. I like that. Like other people couldn't do that. No, do what Scott did. I like that.
Yeah,
The whole
exactly.
ants thing, the ants piling up thing. That looked cool.
Right. And all right, as I bring up ants, right? So I'll close with this and I'll shut up for sure, right? Yes, I love what they do here with the ants, where yeah, the ants get advanced to the point of
Yeah.
we making our own technology, right?
You know.
When they set it up early on, I was like, yes, this is great. I love this. And how it comes back up in the end, that was really great as well too. Because yeah, ants with guns and shit, right? Just blowing stuff up, right? I just love how you see Hank just walking slowly and this swarm of like is actually when you think about it, is really a smart way to take down somebody like Kang, because yeah, Kang have force, he have his goons, he have a full army. So yeah, was the best thing to stop him than a whole swarm of ants. It makes sense. I like that. Like there's some smart elements in this show. I must say,
Yeah.
it's just that they really try to do a lot here, and at times it could feel like not we as the viewers being overwhelmed, but like they themselves, like creators, kind of overwhelmed, but like they're just trying to do a lot at the same time, right? And yeah, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't, right? But I would still say ultimately, yeah, it's worth checking out, man. You may not remember it in a hurry, but yeah, it's worth checking out. So yeah, your final thoughts are written.
Yeah. No. As I said, not the worst thing ever or anything like that, but I again just a big kind of underwhelming, kind of a letdown. I wasn't super hyped for it or anything like that, but I really thought that it would have been a lot more competent than this. It feels not so much rushed but hurried, and again we could get into all kind of extra reasons as to why there's a case and whatnot. And yeah, we'll start probably just the general trend of the MCU and the general conceits going on here, because yeah, I'll straight up say it. I mean, this it's starting to feel like late stage Renaissance period Disney now. We starting to get into Pocahontas territory. Like, let me just put it like that, right? And yeah, that lasted. The Disney Renaissance era lasted about, like, when it started. I don't know. Little Mermaid. That was
About
19. Little Mermaid was what, 1988. I think that was the first film that was like
88 or 89, I think it was. Yeah.
right around that, and then it lasted about until
Until Lion
96.
King. And
Lion
then
King, right?
and then 95 was when Pocahontas dropped. Right.
Right.
Okay, I see we get that, right? And then
Yeah.
there was stuff like what was my it
Hunchback of
was
Notre Dame and
Hunchback of Notre Dame and
Tarzan. Not bad
Tarzan.
movies by any
Yeah.
not bad movies by any stretch of imagination. Hercules around that, right? Not bad, but the quality was clearly inferior to when Aladdin and Lion King was out, and it's that's how it feels like to me. Time pass. It's not the same people working on this stuff. They're following up on the material. The idea is not strong. It's just I feel the level of care and just the polish. It's just the lack of polish. That's my main concern and problems with it. And yeah, as I say,
Yeah, I think just sorry to cut you. I think it has to do with the formula that Marvel
yeah,
Studios kind of figure out for themselves. Like,
exactly.
it's true trial and error, yes, right?
Right,
But you can kind of tell, like, all right, we just need to just play the same beats over and over
right.
and over and
And
over,
I'll
and
straight
it'll
up,
make money, right?
yeah. And as I say, there's a complacency I think involved, right? And look at I'm not the only person to say this, but James Gunn kind of hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thing you could I watch the DCU, and well, even that I still not too probably just a larger conversation for another time. But I still, even the whole superhero comic book formula might be kind of dying out. So even if James Gunn come good, it might not be the shot in the arm for the industry in that sense. And I think something really new and interesting are coming. As I say, watch that Mario movie, right? So that is about it for me. Yeah, ratings. 6 out of 10. Closer to 7. I really felt they could have done more. It could have punched up. I didn't hate it. I still had fun. I still was enjoying it. But yeah, everything across the board could have punched up. Jokes could have punched up. Action could have punched up. Set pieces could have punched up. How the characters bounce off and interact with each other could have punched up. That's how I feel about it. But I didn't hate it or anything like that. Just it just lack a polish. Just everything just felt undercooked, and that's my main point about all of this. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.